Morning, everyone. We'll stand to say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we got that.
Alrighty. We'll start off with the agenda approval. Was there any additions or subtractions?
None.
Alrighty. If I can get a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Shar. And a second? I'll second to get things moving along here. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public input. You'd like to come up, state your name and address?
I'm Jerry Scoville. I'm the owner of Huntress Farms. I live in Lake George, and my farm is in Lake George, and I also have a store in Nevis. I don't want to say too much about the last ordinance because it was dropped, except to say that I felt it was unfair and unreasonable. I also wanted to touch base kind of on a couple of things. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to speaking in front of people like this, so kind of bear with me. I wanted to talk about the community and youth safety. As with everything, the only way in keeping the community and our youth safe is through education. Our community and youth have been told for many years how bad this plant is. I get it, but everyone in the cannabis community and industry are experts and educators in their field, and we are changing the way people feel about this plant, one person or group at a time. It's been ingrained in us for so long that this plant has been bad for you, and now many finally realize the benefits of this plant has to offer, and has had to offer for many years, from fiber and grain to the medicinal parts of the plant, like CBD, CBG, CBN, and the dreaded THC. Marijuana is not a gateway drug. There is no research to validate that myth, but it is a substitute. It's a substitute to get off opioids, prescription medications, cigarettes, and more. It is the greatest feeling to have someone come up to me and tell me how this plant has helped them in their day-to-day struggles, whether it's arthritis or anxiety, or from the effects of radiation and chemotherapy. So education is key for the community and our youth safety. Location and distance from places that youth frequent. I understand the need for regulation, but again, this goes back to education. Bars and liquor stores are not stigmatized in the community or by our youth. It is normal to see a bar on every corner, but we are educated and follow the rules. No one under 21 if there is no food. No one under 21 after the kitchen closes. And they know this because they were educated. And so it doesn't matter if a bar is next to a candy store, a park, or a school. We all know the rules and we follow them. I feel our community and our youth are not getting the credit they deserve, and neither are we. We are still being stigmatized because of what we are taught regarding this plant, which is why education is essential. I hope that you do your due diligence in researching this, and I just want you to know that I am available for any kinds of questions that you have, and if I don't know the answers, I will find them out. So that's what I had to say.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment?
Hi, I'm Maya Winskowski. I live in Park Rapids, but I also own Midwest Dab and Cabin on Main Street. I agree with everything that Jerry had said. Our smoke shop, we educate all of our clients and customers on the uses of THC. I just wanted to shed a little bit of light. I'm not going to read this entire thing because this entire thing is for when you guys put it on the agenda and actual make an ordinance against it. But I do want to pick some bits and pieces out of this. I would have to say that 60 to 70% of our customers are between the ages of 40 and 70 years old, with occupations that would astound you. This is the age group that normally comes into our smoke shop looking for products that are trying to be taken out of this community. A lot of our customers that you meet coming in and out of our store have amazing backstories and why they choose hemp as their form of medicine. We have customers who have chronic pain, PTSD, inflammation, sleep disorders, physical disabilities, etc., that come in here to get a form of relief instead of being on narcotics that are extremely addicting. I also wanted to say that the hemp-derived products are only contain 0.3% THC. That also falls underneath the 2018 Farm Bill Act. That is federally and Minnesota state legal, and all of my products are compliant under that law. Since it is local, it is also half the price compared to what you get at the medical dispensary if you do have a medical cannabis card, which I and my husband also obtain. But I also wanted to say and agree that, we have to sell to people who are 21 years of age, same with like alcohol and all those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, like, I know all of you guys can, argue with me back and forth on this, saying that the youth can get their hands on this, but the youth can get their hands on literally anything. I have two kids, two stepkids that are in high school. And let me tell you, cocaine, meth, and opioids are the bigger issue out of marijuana. And I also wanted to say too that marijuana is at like the bottom of the list that we should all be, caring about, really. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further public input? If there's no further public input, we'll close public input. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any additions or subtractions to the consent agenda? All righty. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, county employee recognition. We have in the county attorney's office, Jill Christensen, crime victim coordinator, is recognized for 20 years of service effective October 21st, 2022. Highway, we have Andrew Beldo, maintenance 2, began the full-time position on 10/31/2022. Social services, Shannon Krotowski, office support specialist, income maintenance, began her full-time position October 26, 2022. Also, social services, we have Melissa Lyons, social worker, children's services, began the full-time position on October 31st, 2022. Okay, and next we'll move on to highway and survey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First on our agenda today, we have review and approve quote for a four-wheeler. This is for the survey department. The survey department currently has two four-wheelers, one for each of the guys that goes out in the field. They prefer the four-wheelers over the bigger side-by-sides due to accessibility concerns. And so what we've got in our fleet right now is a 2005 Polaris and a 2008 Polaris. So this one would be replacing the 2005. So as you can tell by the years, we don't go through four-wheelers a lot and replace these very often. What we're actually planning with this one is for the highway department to take the 2005, and we would set it up to use for some of our smaller construction projects that we do in-house with some seeding, some dragging of the topsoil and whatnot. And we would use that quite a bit. And the problem with sharing some of these things is you usually want it about the same times, and survey uses these quite a bit. So what we were thinking was, we've only got a couple $1,000s budgeted in the survey department for equipment, but there's about, I would say, between a $2,000 and $3,000 value that we would pay for with highway funds, and then the remainder could come from remonumentation funds, where we have a decent balance right now. So, yeah, so it wasn't a specifically budgeted item, but we are in need of this, and so we did solicit quotes, and we received 3, and the low being Okeson Off-Trail Sales in Detroit Lakes, $7,573, and this was all 3 quotes for the same Polaris machine.
All right.
I'll move to approve the low quote.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Very good. And next, we've got discussion and hopefully reapproval for our highway maps. Due to supply chain issues, they can't get the paper that they quoted us before. And so they finally sent 3 options, I believe was included in your packet. 2 of them for 60-pound paper and 1 for 70-pound dull paper. And in between them submitting this to us and now, or at least putting the agenda in, they can't get either of the 60-pound papers. So we're down to 1 option with the 70-pound paper, and the dull is what we prefer. It seems to be a better map, and that's what we've had in the past. And so, since it was a different amount than was approved before, I bring this to you and hope that you'll approve the 70-pound paper from that same company. 3,000 maps is at a total of $3,022.68.
So move.
Thank you, Shar.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, so 70-pound paper, that'd be hit thicker.
A little bit heavier,
heavier
yep.
paper.
Yeah, and that's fine, but yeah, I don't know that it's totally necessary. We just can't get the other, so.
And it looks like less than a 10% increase.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And you wanna give a project update?
Yeah, the only project that's still open currently was our County Road 119 grading and aggregate base and bituminous. And Knife River Materials did, at the end of last week, complete the grading and aggregate base placement and the erosion control and turf establishment measures. So that project and all the detour construction signs then are essentially down and completed for now. We'll come back in the spring, they will rather, and they'll finish the pavement reclamation and bituminous surfacing and shouldering on 119, County Road 82, and then the 2 projects, 174th for Nevis Township and then Aldrich Avenue for Todd Township, so.
I was on that. It's very nice. Did a great job.
We're gonna try and get all the road signs back up, hopefully by the end of the week, if we can get all the clearance from one call and everything, so that remains to be done yet, so, but good.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks.
Natural Resource Management. Hello again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I only have one item on the agenda for today, and that is to include approximately 86 acres of tax forfeited land in the Deep Lake Park project. The Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission requires that any lands that are going to be receiving any of the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Funds be listed in their management plan. And we have intent to include the 2 parcels that are shown on the map. One is a 6-acre parcel on, along the east side of County 4, and the other is an 80-acre parcel on the east side of the project. Those would be used for trails. Part of the cross-country ski trail would cross that 6-acre parcel, and then the mountain bike trails would be on that 80-acre parcel. Doesn't change the way that we manage these lands at all. They're still gonna be tax forfeited. They still can be open for public recreation other than the mountain biking that we're gonna have out there. You know, that would be a county board decision on how they wanna change, if they wanna change any of that. But we just want to make sure that if we're going to try and include some of these trails on there, that they're listed in the management plan. So when we get to the point of including those trails, that we can get funding and have them included in the master plan.
So hypothetically, I know we're not interested in doing this at this point, but if down the road, a county board decided they wanted to sell those 2 parcels, would they be able to do that, or by approving this, will this always be a part of Deep Lake?
That would be a good question. I would assume that you probably can.
Because it's not gonna be, you're not redoing the plat,
Right.
and it's listed separate as,
Right, and it's not changing the status, it's still going to be Class tax forfeited land. I'm assuming that you can. There may be some repercussions with using Lessard Sam's dollars.
Yeah, I was just curious of how much it's tied into Deep Lake.
Right.
Now, the 80-acre parcel on the east, is there any road or trail access to that parcel without going through the park?
Yes, there's the old rail grade that comes in from the north and actually goes into the park and then exits back out the southeast side into that private 80 to the south and continues on down. I think it actually goes all the way over to Akeley. But there is that old rail grade. It's four-wheeler trail at best. I don't think you'd want to take a truck through there. But that is, as far as I know, that's the only access into that 80.
Okay, thank you.
Would this, being part of the park, would it change your forest management plan for this 80 acres?
I would say that we would manage the timber differently, because you're gonna have recreation trails out there. But the funds would, we have no, preclusions that, you couldn't harvest timber out there. But I think we would manage it differently than we would if it was regular, just tax forfeited land. I think would be a little more selective in our harvest methods.
I'm assuming maybe a buffer around the trails, or you would
Yeah.
log
Yep.
directly on the trail.
That'd be a good way to handle it.
All righty. Any further discussion? Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Social services.
Mr. Chair, I had let Marley Morrison know about 9:30, so if we could just wait till she gets here, she's on her way.
Okay, thank you. Human resources. Good morning.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. Before you with the Human Resources agenda is a Hubbard County 457B Deferred Compensation Plan Trustee Designation. Basically, this is a housekeeping matter that we need to establish this resolution. Payroll Coordinator Loretta Mapson is not with the county and was previously designated as a trustee, so we need an updated resolution as our new payroll coordinator, Robin Hanson, to be designated as a trustee in a resolution. This would be effective November 1st, today. The resolution also has myself listed as well too, so we're just asking for action to housekeeping, updating this resolution.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Sure.
Second.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. We'll move on then to the administrator.
I can occupy more than 10 minutes. Just a brief note that we have tentative agreements with 6 of the 7 groups, and we're just waiting for confirmation that we have agreement on the 7th. We would hope to have those all to you in 2 weeks. Hopefully, we can get the red lines done and get the business agent, or get the business groups to vote on them, so that we can bring them to you for approval. I would just summarize and say that I think that the negotiations, we know the market was tough. We knew that it was going to be more expensive than typical, but I think that we made a lot of progress along the lines. I don't know if Tom or Shar want to say anything relative to those, or wait until we bring the contracts to you in a couple of weeks.
Wait till the contract.
Okay. So I see Marley's here.
Sure.
So if we want to go ahead and jump ahead to that, and we can come back to the budget conversation.
Social services.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the agenda item we have for you today is the contract with CHI St. Joe's for our public health. And I have Marley Morrison here.
Hi, I have the contracts, they're signed by Ben, and there's no changes to the contract from previous years other than an updated amount of $276,950, which is similar to last year's. So I don't know if you have any questions or...
And I could just give an update too. I mean, Marley's crew works, they do a really, really, really good job for the county. They are very fiscally responsible when it comes to how they use the contract and the services that they provide. And I would, again, I just recommend the approval of the contract to keep it going.
I'll make that motion.
Dan? And I'll second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Made it easy on me, thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, we'll go back to the administrator.
And I might start with the last item, work session items for next week. I'd be prepared to have conversations about knowing what we know about the contracts at this point in time. I've worked with Kay and Gina and Jane to update the numbers in the budget system relative to our staffing proposal. And we'll have all of those, I think, punched into IFS and be able to run new reports for you. And as soon as we have them, we'll push them out. But that will be our primary topic of conversation is using next week's work session to prepare and whittle down and identify what specifically we want to carry into December relative to the budget. So I've got a lot of background information on our FTE staffing history, the changes that we've made over the years, and I'll push that all out in one packet, even ahead of the meeting as I have it prepared. But it's probably going to mean phasing in over a couple of years to buy this down, because it's the change in the staffing costs at the sheriff's office is pushing the sheriff's office request to over 9%, right? So if we're maintaining 10% for economic development and capital, then we're gonna have to work around this. So I don't know if there are other items for the work session for next week that people wanted to have. I know that relative to the proposed ordinance, I just got the last copy from Jonathan yesterday relative to licensing of those products. At some point, we would need to set a public hearing date. I would assume that we would be ready to put that on the agenda for the 15th for a public hearing in December, if that's your intention. After the public hearing is noticed and held, then you can actually vote relative to that proposed ordinance. So I don't know if Jonathan pushed that out to you or if he just pushed it out to me. If you want to put that on the work session for next week so we can take a look at the newest language, we certainly can. But I don't think it's changed very significantly from that. I think what he did was adjusted some of the setbacks and limits that were in the initial licensing proposal.
So I would like to have a discussion at a work session prior to a vote.
Okay. And we won't have one in December, so we should schedule it for next week. Okay. We schedule it for next week, and then we can identify if we want to put that on. To set the public hearing would be the action item, the agenda item, then on November 15th for a future date. And the budget update is kind of in there. We're still planning on pushing the capital stuff over. I have a draft 5-year plan of the capital plan, and I have more of the dollars and cents than I do of the policy, and I think that that's okay at this point in time. We haven't really adopted a capital planning policy, but having the budget worksheets in front of us and you having the ability to look down the road and see what's coming or what's possible, I think will really help to inform decisions relative to allocation for 2023. We do have a couple of big challenges. Both solid waste is hoping and planning for a big chunk of capital for some of their landfill closures, and I think we're aware that the park project is asking for a chunk of that, and then the radios and the new software in the sheriff's office are also looking for a chunk of that, and the combined is more than we have available to divvy out. So there will be choices that have to be made relative to that. So you'll have all of that information. Can you think of anything? Kay has also updated the tax rate. We're getting better and better numbers in relative to our tax capacity, so the tax rate is coming in. It has moved by 1/10 or 2% from what you saw before. So the tax impacts we discussed in September are the same. And I'll have that additional information. I reran the tax impacts at a couple of different points so that you can see what those are. I'm gonna be working the balance of the afternoon to get the tax insert, the mailer that went out last year, updated for this year. I have that about 80% done at this point, but that I think I need to turn into Kay this afternoon to make sure it gets included in that mailer, kind of coming down against the deadline. Are there any other items relative to the budget that you can think that you would like to see other than what you will have before our meeting next Tuesday?
No.
Okay, well, if you have questions about that, or when I get that packet assembled and pushed out and you have questions, let me know, because if there's something that needs research, we'd like to do it ahead of time. But the major pieces are, in a $54 million budget is $24 million of that is staffing and benefits, so that's a big piece of it, and I wanna work with, to make sure that we got those numbers correct.
Thank you.
Otherwise, then next week's work session will be budget, and it will be proposed ordinance. Will be the two items that I think I have on there. Do we have anything else as a placeholder?
Just capital plan committee list updates.
Okay. So it'll be some housekeeping things that we'll bring forward as well. We'll circulate the committee list so you folks can take a look at that. Yeah, November 8th happens to be election day too.
Election day, yeah, I was just gonna say that, so.
So we'll have some housekeeping things as well.
Right. Let's see, so, and then the next I see committee reports. Who would like to start? David?
I gotta look back and see what I got here. Start somewhere else.
Dan, are you ready?
Not really. I can start us off. 24th had a meeting at Northwest Juvenile Training Center, and everything is going financially well as in the past. Programming, capital improvements, we're doing okay. Just trying to look here. We had a department manager. I'll let you talk about that, Ted. Coalition meeting. And retirement. I just gotta look here. I'm sorry.
You were at AMC also.
Yeah, AMC, we had a good AMC, it actually was really good, in fact. But they did talk about some of the counties within our, what would you say, region, or that meets there, are not participating like they would like to see. So if we can reach out to the other commissioners and explain the importance of AMC, that would be very beneficial. Is there anything else on A? I'll let you bring up some other things on AMC. I think that was it. I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Shar?
Well, my computer wasn't working, so they took it, so my notes are in there.
We understand.
Tom?
Well, I was gonna just mention something about the, Hubbard changing the bylaws and what it has to do with committees. Right now, you have, Hubbard County has 2 commissioners who are going to the Mojave meetings. And,
I'm actually a person at large for the
Yep,
community, and you're the rep.
I'm the one, and then she's at large, but they're gonna be changing the at-large one to where they can also include, you know, like a township supervisor or maybe somebody on the school board. So, more than likely, for next year, there'll be just one from Hubbard County.
That would be good.
2.
I think that,
Yeah, I
to
think,
get other community members
Yeah.
involved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
a great,
agree. And that's-
whether we
that's-
keep the alternate or not. I mean,
That's
it's
the
a
idea
great
behind it. Yep.
Yep.
So, you know, it includes school board members. That would be a really good one to
Yep.
represent on the Mojave board. Anyway, do you have anything else from Mojave?
well, I do, but, so they had some more inclusion, equity training, and I asked Liz about it, and I don't have the wording in front of me, so I'll wait and report on that later.
Are you ready, David?
Sure. Let's see, we have had, since the last time, HLDC had an open house on the 20th for resorters. And a few came in at the time I was there. But the point of it was to inform resorters of how they could market the HLDC to extend people's vacation by 1 more day or 2 more days, because they now would have a facility where they could work out of, that they might not have had at traditional resorts. You go to some of the larger resorts like Madden's and that, they'll have a conference room and they'll have all those tools you need to work. Not all of our smaller mom and pop resorts have that, so having a place for them to go in town to be able to work might be an opportunity for resorters to extend their stays an extra day or 2, which would be beneficial. November 3rd, Thursday, is Kurt's retirement party. So Kurt Hansen from Heritage Living Center, so if you can attend that, that's at 2 p.m. at the chapel.
2 to 4, I
Heritage
think,
Living
Dave,
Center.
isn't it?
Yep.
2 to 4.
And I don't know if anybody can tomorrow, but if you saw an email, you had a childcare forum tomorrow to come on in at 4 p.m. Might be kind of interesting. I'm not going to be able to make it, but could be an interesting thing to attend that I saw that came through the email. Other than that, we had a Deep Lake Park Committee meeting, Technical Advisory Committee on the 24th, where we just reviewed the draft master plan and gave some input to Stuart to work on finishing the final draft of that. And I think that's about it. Yes, that's it.
Let's see, and I'll start off with the AMC conference, Region 2 conference there in Bemidji. As Dan stated, there wasn't a good turnout. Hubbard County had 3 of our commissioners there, so that was a good turnout, I thought. Tim Sumner, the board chair there, this will be his last term. So there'll be an election at some point to have a new chair there. We did speak with some of the candidates for AMC that will be voted on in December. Otherwise, I don't think there was a lot more that,
Just a lot of updates
Yeah.
on existing,
things that we want to try to do, get the legislature to do for the counties in next legislative season, how there wasn't much done this last year. Let's see, I also had a managers meeting. There we talked about the budget and open enrollment for employee benefits. HR, there again, talked about open enrollment and budget figures for salaries, recorder's office was getting feedback. And let's see, treasurer, auditor, proposed taxes, property taxes, elections, and Sandy is retiring in January. And they talked on Tyler just a little bit. How they've got, Tyler's got, are moving up to 18 counties. They currently have 13 counties on Tyler. Attorney, transitioning to new software, trial block next 2 weeks, Christmas and New Year's block, land use issues, ESO, end of the season, people trying to get permits and everything before the end of the building season. GIS interviews, talked about software, having trouble getting septic system storage tanks. So if there's even a person that's in violation of the septic system ordinance, they may not be able to get a septic tank to upgrade so they can correct their violation. Maintenance department, is preparing for winter. Veteran service offices. The Northwest training to vets went well. Bins in you might see the disabled veterans, kind of a greenish colored bins for putting in clothing. I forgot to write down the number of pounds that they do. It was in the thousands.
Thousands of pounds.
So it's thousands of pounds that are being diverted from landfills and stuff that eventually get donated out elsewhere. Talked about coffee with vets. Let's see. Recognized by the state for the number of claims that were filed. Number 2 in the state. Let's see, the highway department, just getting ready there again for the winter season. He updated us on County Road 18. Social services, new staff and budget. IT, they switched over to the Gigabyte with Paul Bunyan and RVIG as being the secondary. Worked with the sheriff's department on new body cameras and cameras for the squads. Northwest, or natural resource management, final timber auction, 1.2 million in timber was sold, stumpage sold there. It was better than last year. He's also looking at timber software, but they're fighting with some of the glitches with that. And then also working on the master plan for the Deep Lake Park. Let's see, I also had a North Country Community Health Board meeting. There again, that's part of something that Marley is involved with. We basically went over the budget for next year, the administrative contract for the next year, administrative agreement that they will be hopefully sending to us. I showed Jeff a hard copy this morning. Hopefully get that in electronic form so it's more easy here. Talked about the joint powers agreement. Talked about the bylaws. There again about a medical consultant contract. So it was a lot of housekeeping, and it was the first time we met in person in over 2 years. And that was at the Clearwater County Courthouse in Bagley. First time I'd been there. The interior, it was kind of like a Art Deco type design back from the 50s or 60s or whatever. I thought it was some cool architecture in that building. We also had a COVID update, and which they talk about, they're concerned about the coming flu season, COVID, and then RSV, respiratory, some kind of virus or whatever that you're seeing an uptick in young children. let's see, then I had a Mississippi Headwaters Board meeting. Talked about a presentation from MinFish, Sports Fishing Coalition. Mark Holstein, a former DNR commissioner, is the executive director of that. They talked about how 25% of the population in Minnesota fish. We talked about the hatcheries and how a lot of the hatcheries in the state need to be updated or remodeled type of a thing. They're looking at a $20 million price tag for the one in Waterville. The DNR has plans of redoing 7 boat accesses a year, and that they currently have over 1,700. So they'll never get them all caught up and done. I could go off on a tangent here right now about, let's see, so that was part of the Mississippi Headwaters Board. Talked about the signage data update. That's where we of course have jurisdiction over the first 400 miles of the Mississippi River. And we've been putting up signs in the river where it shows entrance points, how far it is downstream, what it might take, 2 to 3 hours to go to the next point, stuff like that. So we got an update and a new updated map on where those are. Currently, there's none in Hubbard County, but Mississippi is a short stretch in Hubbard County, and there is no public accesses on the river in Hubbard County, so we may never see something there. And we also talked about marketing opportunities to try to get the word out more on Mississippi Headwaters Board and what we do. And then I also had an HRDC meeting, which I attended by Zoom. And,
Change your leadership there?
not yet. We've got some new employees. We're trying to get the employees back in the office because we've got a lot of new hires and we wanted to get some collaboration and all that.
Are they all working remote?
No, quite a few of them are in the office now. We did have 3 people resign because they didn't want to come back to the office. I think was part of the situation. Craig Gosvick and I were voted onto the executive committee. And that's, I think, it's kind of funny where you find out some more in-depth information on that, being in that part of it versus being just a regular commission member. Let's see. We also talked about hopefully funding opportunities. One of them was for trails. It's a state trails thing, but they talked about the possibility of some of that funding maybe being used for the Heartland Express Connection Trail. And I gave that, and Jed got that information. You apply for the funding now and it'll be available in 2027. And that seems like 4 years away, but yet it might take that long to get the pieces in place to actually do some more of the trail up there. There was also a presentation on broadband, and there again, funding that's available for underserved and areas that aren't served. I was asked if Hubbard County could use some of those fundings, and I said yes, that there are areas of the county that have no internet access, and then some areas that are lacking in good internet access.
Got a deal on AM. Did you see that AMC sent out a deal about
Yeah, just yesterday, was it? Yeah.
broadband?
And that's all I've got. So let's see, next on the agenda is meetings of note. We got the AMC Annual Conference, December 4th through the 7th in Bloomington. I know I will attend, but it just says, of course, the cancellation deadline is November 22nd. So if you got a room and you can't go, you could cancel by the 22nd, which is just before Thanksgiving.
Are you planning to go? Are you planning to go?
Yeah, I am planning on attending that. I'm just not sure about Tuesday night. So I will meet with Denise and discuss that, but Sunday, Monday, yes. Sunday, Monday, yes. Tuesday, could we, okay, great. I can find a place to go after that. We're fine.
All righty. If there's anything else, and if there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thanks. Second.
Thank you, Shar, and thank you, Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Jeff, is there a public